Hi everybody, Scott here from the Introvert Power channel. In this video I want to talk about INFJ and INFP empathy, looking at the similarities and the differences, and in a sense how each of the types do empathy. So I think the first thing to point out is how different empathy looks on the outside for each of the types. So for the INFP, they usually use very little body language or facial expressions to show respect. There's a sense that to show, some like a concerned look or something like that might actually come across as fake or false or almost downplay or belittle what the other person's sharing. And so the INFP gets quiet and silent as a way to communicate that they are there, that they are listening. Whereas for the INFJ, they're wanting to communicate the same thing. They're wanting to communicate that they're present and that they're engaged and that they're listening. But they often do that more by showing facial expressions, even maybe saying maybe a little bit more than the INFP would in those moments, just to communicate more directly that they're there, that they're listening, that they're present. However, I think it's just important to acknowledge that while both look very different, both types are doing the exact same thing. I think one of the reasons that INFPs generally don't want to offer advice or influence the other person in moments where they're displaying empathy is because, like the INFP, they see everybody as like on a sacred journey. They're sacred people on a sacred journey. People are very complex, and so to offer a solution or to offer advice, there's a sense that they would find that they don't want to get in the way of that person's journey, their sacred journey. They want that they believe in the journey, that everyone's on a journey, and that to say something could get in the way of that person's journey. And so they tend to be reluctant to say a lot in those situations. Because the INFP doesn't show a lot on the outside, I think that's why some people, or INFPs, have been labelled as more or can be labelled as sympathetic rather than empathetic. But I think that's simply not true. I think it's just a misunderstanding. And that I think the last thing most INFPs want to be labelled as is sympathetic. Just sort of pitying someone in their situation. I think that's the last thing INFPs want to do. So in the INFP's silence, I think what they are doing, in a sense, is they're just giving the other person as much room as they need to express themselves, to share their feelings, to be in the moment and be in what they're experiencing. And by doing that, the INFP is able to experience at a very deep level what the other person is experiencing. And I think that's how an INFP, in a sense, empathizes, is that they just sit with the person in that particular moment in their journey with what they might be sharing. There's a sense that they believe that by doing that, they're actually helping to almost be like a healing agent for the other person in that particular moment in their journey. It's like their silence is saying, I am right here with you in this moment in your sacred journey, and I am here with you. I think one of the reasons that INFPs generally aren't concerned to offer advice or to try and fix the other person is that because they're able to develop a very real and complex sort of inner representation of what the other person is experiencing, that there's comfort in the sense that they know where the other person is. For the INFP, the other person isn't lost, so the INFP doesn't feel a need often to provide any solutions to it because they have a sense of where the person is and where they're going along their path, and so they just see that their role is really just to be there in that moment with them, and that is what's needed. It's not that the INFP can't offer a solution or advice. It's not that they don't know what that looks like. I just think that they just avoid that, I think, most of the time. However, I think they can offer it if it's absolutely necessary. That advice is there, but I think they prefer to leave that alone and just be there with them in what they're in. I think one of the differences between the INFJ and the INFP empathy is like the INFP's empathy. It's just there. It's in the room. It's often it's experienced very internally, but the atmosphere is empathic. It's like it emanates out of them. Whereas for the INFJ, their empathy, while again it's still an internal experience, it's more direct. Its focus is on the other person, and in that sense, there's going to be a lot more eye contact. Usually, there's going to be maybe a little bit more body language. Leaning in while the person's showing concern on the face, and all of that is really to show them that you are my focus right now, and so that empathy is directed towards the person, whereas the INFP, the empathy is just there. It is all for the other person, yet it's not direct. It's a lot more subtle and soft is probably the best way to describe it. So INFJ empathy is very, very different to the INFP, although it's still the same thing. It's just very different. So while the INFP, can really almost become the other person, or the sense that they experience on a deep level everything the other person experiences, the INFJ is able to suspend their own reality whilst at the same time staying connected to it, and can look through life through the other person. And that happens by doing something similar to the INFP, which is to let the person talk, let the person share what's going on, let the person feel what it is that they're feeling, and that creates a framework or a picture for the INFJ to see life from that person's perspective. So it's like the INFJ is sort of holding on to a piece of their own reality so that they're still connected to their own consciousness, if you like. But they're really seeing life through the eyes of the other person, yet because they're still connected to their self, their introverted intuition is available to them. So it's from that place that the INFJ is going to get an intuitive thought, or they're going to have that sense of knowing, or there's something that their intuition is going to tell them about this situation that might be beyond the awareness of the other person. Whereas the INFP might also be aware of that. They'll just trust that that person might discover it or become aware of it when needed down the track or something like that. The INFJs, where they feel most helpful is providing an intuitive thought in those moments. Not necessarily all the time, but if it's there, it's often going to be helpful to say or to share in some way that intuitive insight. I think what the INFJ does quite well is they're able to speak to parts of people. So it's like the INFJ sees that there's parts of a person that might need to hear something or might need to know something, or and even saying it that way, it sounds simplistic, because it's definitely the NI and the FE really working in tandem, because the INFJ is able to really speak to those parts. Like, it might be a lonely part, it might be a really fearful part, or just a really hopeless part, or something like that in those moments. And INFJs, because of their extroverted feeling function, they're able to very casually, but I think very powerfully, speak to those deeper parts of people without being invasive or without being crass. It's like the empathy that the INFJ is experiencing is able to be communicated right down into a part of the person that needs to hear it, or needs to know it, or needs to experience it. Something along those lines. So to try to provide a sort of an illustration of that, while I'm making this video, as I'm speaking, I get the sense as though I'm speaking to parts of people that are listening to the video. It's like I get this. It's really difficult to sort of explain, but it's like when I'm speaking, I'm trying to communicate something, and I think I'm trying to talk to parts of people as I'm creating the video. And it's not until I get a sense that, I get like an internal sense that, the way I've said that is going to speak to that part of the person that I'm trying to speak to. And it's not until I get that sense that I've communicated that I feel, what I experience generally is like a comfort on the inside, there's something in me that goes, you've said it, or you've spoken to that part, and now you can move on. So just to create another distinction, the INFP's very presence is surgery for the other person. It's the empathy that the INFP presents by just being with the person is the healing agent. Whereas for the INFJ, while their presence is also about providing an empathic space and environment, often it's the INFJ speaking something that speaks to a deeper part of the other person that is, in a sense, the surgery in the moment. And in that sense, it's like both types are saying, I'm here, I am present, and I know you, and I know where you are, and I'm here with you in it. So that's my take on INFJ and INFP empathy. I'd be interested in your comments. I appreciate it if you're able to like the video, if you indeed like it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.